Good evening. Good evening. Oh, I'm already having a good time. Welcome to this very special event. My name's Chuck Swanson. I'm the Executive Director of Hancher Auditorium at the University of Iowa. And this is our Hancher's very first webinar with the University of Iowa Center for Human Rights. And I have to share that our staff is so excited about this. We are formed a partnership, and this is with the foundation of the Iowa City Community Schools, the University of Iowa Center for Human Rights, and Hancher. And we are bringing musicians. We brought them here. They're sitting there together in their hotel room on the bed. I'm just so excited. We are bringing musicians from Jazz at Lincoln Center, and soon you will be hearing voices from some of the finest musicians in our country. We are bringing a program to the junior high schools in Iowa City. This program is called Let Freedom Swing. It explores the connections between jazz and democracy, jazz and civil rights, and jazz and the Great Migration. These projects, a project like this with musicians like this typically happens in cities like New York City and Los Angeles, but it's going to be happening in our town here in Iowa City. Tomorrow they'll be in Southeast Junior High, and on Friday at Northwest Junior High. And I have to say that makes me so very proud and also happy for our students, happy for our community, and very happy for our university. These musicians also tomorrow night and Friday night will be performing in Strauss Rehearsal Hall. We try to make it similar to what Dizzy's is in New York City. We're coming close, but I'll be anxious to hear what you musicians think of Strauss Rehearsal Hall. But as I said, I'm so excited. We just left Hancher. We had an event there for our donors, which leads me just to say thank you to all the donors from the University of Iowa Center for Human Rights, from the Foundation for the Iowa City Community Schools, and also for Hancher. You all helped to bring this magic to our community. So I'm going to turn it over to the musicians. That's who you want to hear from. Thank you all very, very much for joining us tonight.
Hello, everyone. My name is Norman Paul Edwards Jr. I'll be playing drums on these concerts, and I'm from Queens, New York, born and raised.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brianna Thomas, and I will be singing with these amazing musicians on these concerts. I'm born and raised in Peoria, Illinois, and I live in New York City now.
My name is Corbin Jones. I'm playing bass. I grew up in Denver, Colorado, and I live in Los Angeles.
My name is Justin Poindexter. I grew up in North Carolina, but I've lived in New York City for the past 12 years now, and I've been working on this program for 10 years. Jake and I started it about 10 years ago.
Hi, my name is Alphonso Horne. I play the trumpet. I'm from Jacksonville, Florida, and I've been living in New York City for the past 10 years.
Woo! You want to introduce yourself, Jake?
Hey everybody, Jake here, Jazz at Lincoln Center. I help to coordinate these things, and I'm right around the corner from these crazy kids right over there. We're so happy to be here and talk a little bit about this program that we've been doing for the past 8-9 years. And I think Justin is going to tell a little bit about sort of where we've been and how far we've come.
Okay, I'm going to start very brief. But this program was inspired by our artistic director, Wynton Marsalis, the trumpet player and composer and the leader of the Jazz Lincoln Center Orchestra, had a conversation at Harvard with Sandra Day O'Connor about parallels between, it's hard to hear me? Yeah. All right, I'll yell.
I turned up.
So our artistic director, Wynton Marsalis, had a conversation with Sandra Day O'Connor, the former justice of the Supreme Court, about the parallels between jazz and American democracy. And these conversations turned into a sort of curriculum for how jazz can be taught as a social studies subject, because jazz shows you everything about America, the good, the bad, the ugly. It's all there. It tells us about where we've been and who we are. And Jake and I were tasked with taking this curriculum and turning it into a concert series. And I think I can speak for all of us when we've been really shocked at how much it's grown. That's kind of not usually what you hear about things like this. Brianna's been there since the beginning. We started out in 20 schools, and I think the year before last, we were doing 600 concerts a year around the world. And at this point, we've reached over 500,000 kids through this program, and literally thousands of concerts employing, I think, over 150 jazz musicians have been part of this program. So the conversation tonight is really just kind of about these musicians who have all had different levels of experience with this program. Corbin's been playing in the program in Los Angeles. The rest of these people have been doing it in New York. So we're just going to kind of talk about our experiences and kind of why this work is relevant, why we think it's important for us to be out there in schools playing jazz music for kids. We're going to be focusing a little bit on our two essential artists for this concert, which are the great Louis Armstrong and Bessie Smith. And thinking that maybe the best way to start off here, Jake, if you can cue it up, is why don't we watch a little bit of Louis Armstrong, just so we can all get on the same page about Louis Armstrong and his contribution to American music. This is one of our very favorite clips. It's from the 1958 Newport Jazz Festival, and it's Up the Lazy River.
Woo!
Up the lazy river where the old mill run. Up the lazy river with the noonday sun. Lingering in the shade of a kind of tree. Throw away your troubles, dreamer, dreamer me, dreamer, dreamer me. Yes. Up the lazy river where the robin song is. Two bright lights as we stroll along. Blue skies up above, the one I love. Up the lazy river, how happy we will be. Mama, yeah. Yes, up the lazy river to Jesus, yes. Papa, that is but oh yes, my love. But that is that. But nobody, Papa, do it. Let it be, Papa, do it. Papa, did it. Lord says, oh my love, up the lazy river, whoa, river, you river, oh, you dog river. It's where Billy Cobb come in, folks.
Whoops. All right. Woo!
Are we back on?
Yes, we are.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Am I okay, Jake? Okay. Well, we got our resident trumpet player. This is Alphonso Horne. So take the hot seat, Fon.
Oh, hey everybody. I hope you're doing well. As a trumpet player, just in general, Louis Armstrong is one of the greatest, if not the greatest trumpet player, in the history of trumpet. The things that he can do on the instrument was iconic and just ahead of his time. And even now, I mean, even with the great Wynton Marsalis. I remember doing a gig with Wynton Marsalis and Michael Feinstein and Vince Giordano. It was a big band, and they had they had Wynton play a bunch of Louis Armstrong solos back to back, and even Wynton, one of the greatest trumpet players alive, was just like, oh my God. Just his sound and his presence, and he never sounds tired. You listen to that solo, he's singing, then he goes to playing, and then he plays the ba 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 boo dee dee da, and he's just singing it. Is this joyous singing quality, just like the level of trumpet playing that he's playing. So that alone, just his trumpet playing, just stands out, and every trumpet player knows who he is. And then just as a person that helped to create, he made jazz popular, and I think that is due to his spirit, that he always presented himself as a joyous, uplifting spirit. And no matter what he was going through, obviously, during these times, he was going through, obviously racial inequality, all types of things, being on the road like that. He was on the road constantly, but he always had a smile, and he always uplifted the audience. And so that kind of, we were just on the road, and we jumping from place to place. This is the third or fourth thing we did today. But, seeing, and I know Louis went through much, even more in his time period of performing, doing different things, but still showing so much energy and showing so much joy. That's something that I always look to Louis, for. And obviously stylistically, as I mentioned before earlier today, that he was doing things at that time that no other trumpet player, no other musician was doing. He was improvising on a level that no one was doing at that time. Everyone was kind of ad-libbing over a melody, or just, oh, I'm gonna take the melody, I'm gonna change the rhythm a little bit, and maybe take a 4-8 bar solo. But Louis Armstrong would take maybe 16 32 bars and just come up with something new in that moment, and nobody really was doing that at the time. And so we always look to him. And one of the things that I like to do with my students is say, who's a pop icon you love today? Can you trace it? I can probably trace them back to Louis Armstrong. Beyonce was influenced by Aretha Franklin. You can trace that back to Mahalia, and to Bessie Smith, and to Louis Armstrong. So Louis Armstrong is kind of the root of American music. So those are some things I would say about Louis Armstrong.
I wonder, Norman, can I put you in the hot seat?
Yes.
So when we were watching that clip just now, and I love this clip, I love the tempo that Louis Armstrong plays at. And I don't want to get too much into musical technique, because that's not really what this is about here. But Louis Armstrong's relationship with rhythm is incredibly important. As he said himself, rhythm is king. What do you notice when you're watching this clip, or with any clip of Louis Armstrong, about his relationship with his drummer, with his band? What is happening with Louis Armstrong as a band leader?
It's an excellent question. It's really cool. So Louis Armstrong, obviously, we all talk about his and that's, and of course that's great, it's very iconic, but it's how he does it, he's coming from a place of, singing, from the horn, singing from the trumpet too. And he wants to emphasize that, but he also emphasized with the rhythm, because, you can hear it with how he scats, with how he sings, or how he even puts rhythm. Even in that clip, there was this one point where they're all slow and everybody's grooving. But even once the band starts tipping, and they start with the double time, even the way he sings, sit, sit, stop, and it's he's singing like a drum solo, almost like a lot of his rhythms is so syncopated, like a jazz drummer. And coming, as a drummer myself, I love playing along with musicians like that, just because it's almost like we're having a conversation. It's like instead of it being how are you? How are you? I'm fine. I'm fine. It's no, that's boring. It's how are you? I am fine. What you up to today? Well, I'm going to the store. I'm going to the store. Yeah. What you going to get from that store? I'm going to get some eggs. Ha. I'm going to get some milk. Come on. And what else are you going to get? Maybe that juice. Maybe you're going to get that the bread. Then I'm going to get that bacon. Then so. You know, that's, you know, and Louis Armstrong was one of the first people to do that when no one else was really doing that yet, with his Hot Five and Hot Sevens band. And so that's why, like, I mean, that's why, again, why Louis Armstrong is so great is that even though he's this, and you know, he embodies trumpet and he embodies voice, he also embodies rhythm. Like, he influences every facet of jazz.
I think it's easy for us to, I mean, and the thing about, I think for many of us as musicians, you know, we look at a time when, you know, the top pop star was Louis Armstrong, and we kind of lament the time that we're in now because he's a genius.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I mean, he took all of the music that was around him in New Orleans, like opera and French music and all these different things, put them together, made something new, and served it to people in a joyous package that was infectious and was danceable. I mean, just all of that is extraordinary. But also, Louis Armstrong put his career on the line to integrate schools. He took a stand at an important time. Does anyone in here want to kind of comment about Louis Armstrong? And you know, he took a lot of flack in the press about this. Was on camera talking about how he said that Eisenhower didn't have any guts. You know, this is someone who, you know, went to the absolute highest place you could go as an entertainer and literally put it on the line because of something he believed. You know, that's a powerful message to bring to kids.
When he, I mean,
Yeah, please, switch up. Yeah.
He has not only influenced, you know, musicians, but like as a vocalist, there are so many vocalists who have, and vocalists are musicians, just let me add that. But as he just is praising, but to comment on what you were saying, I think about the time, what's the song that he wrote about? They Say I Look Like God.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so he goes to Africa and they stop an entire civil war just to hear him play. And he is alive at a time when being Black is difficult, and being a musician is always, you know, they're expressing same things that the community maybe doesn't say, but an artist is a voice of the people. So here he is expressing himself. He writes this song, They Say I Look Like God. He goes to Africa. They are welcoming him. They stop an entire civil war, but yet when he's here in America, he can't even walk through the front door of the places that he's selling out. So when you say that he puts his career on the line, I mean, yes, his career was on the line, but his entire life was like on stage, but then in a back door somewhere. And so, you know, this idea that he brings joy to people through his sound, through his music, through his energy, through his beliefs, that he is inclusive of everyone, that he is like, you know, we learned that he would take money and like give the kids in his neighborhood, buy them things. He was very compassionate. And I think all of us, you know, he inspires us not only musically, but just his whole energy and how he lived and what he did. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
Well said.
Sure.
I think, Jake, would it be okay to cue up the Bessie Smith clip?
Absolutely. And I was also going to add, if anyone has any questions, feel free to type any questions that you have about this program, this music, these wonderful people you see in front of you, and we will try and relay them.
So I believe, now, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the only video clip that we have of Bessie Smith. This is from a movie called St. Louis Blues. And this is an incredible scene. And she's acting in this scene. So, you know, she's not as drunk as it may appear at the bar.
Yeah.
You know, disclaimer, but it's an unbelievable, unbelievable clip. So let's watch this.
My man's got a heart like a rocket in the sea. My man's got a heart like a rocket sea. My man's got a heart like a rocket in the sea. My man's got a heart
Okay, so that was an amazing, amazing, amazing clip. Thank God we have that one. It's told that that is the only clip of Bessie Smith that we have of her performing like on film like that. So, I know that there is a question about why are these people who lived 100 years ago now relevant today? Well, first of all, many of the things that they were going through, they're still happening, or we're still dealing with them today. They're human beings that were living their lives. They were superstars and amazing, but Bessie Smith was a woman at a time when women had very few rights. She was not only a woman, she was a Black woman. So you have these two things. And although she was widely celebrated and enjoyed, she still, like Louis Armstrong and many of our other heroes, she was on billboards and up and down the road, but it was dangerous. You couldn't just be taking back roads on the Chitlin Circuit or anywhere else and just be, you had to know there was certain hotels you could stay at, certain areas that you could be at. And so this was not, while it looks like a glamorous life and it looks like something, they just pop up and give us their gift, it takes a lot. It took a lot for them to show up and deliver all of these things with such joy and sincerity, and at the level that they were giving it at. For them, it was a way of life. And Bessie Smith, one of the greatest, she's been hailed as the greatest blues singer that has ever lived. She represents a type of person that dealt with very difficult struggles early on. I mean, she had a very difficult childhood, but she rose above all of those things. She rose above and went beyond and helped other people to get past their hangups. She crossed color lines. She crossed the idea that she was just a woman or a woman and needed to be in her place. She crossed the idea and went beyond it and took people with her because people were her fans and they followed her. She rallied the crowds to understand I'm a human being and I deserve rights too. And this is my gift and I'm going to share it with you. And I mean, it's been said that the blues is life's way of talking, and certainly Bessie Smith stood and told the truth. And I mean, she influenced everybody that you can possibly think of. All of the music that you hear today, you can trace it back to these people that we're talking about, Louis Armstrong and Bessie Smith. They are the foundation of the sounds that we listen to, the sounds we love, the sounds we create with, the sounds we enjoy, the sounds that we listen to in our spare time. They are the rice at the bottom of that pot that gives all the flavor. And so Bessie her story is one that is now. Her story is one that people can relate to, children. Anyone who understands what it's like to be oppressed, no matter what ethnicity you are, no matter what gender you are, or whatever it is, anyone that understands what it's like to be poor, anyone that understands what it's like to have something to say and need to be heard, anyone that understands what it's like to come together and tell a truth and have everyone understand it as well and be in communion with one another and agree, because that's where the healing and the understanding happens. And understanding, music has a way of speaking to understanding. Understanding is the furthest or closest distance of people. And I feel that like Bessie and Louis bridged those gaps. They crossed color lines at times when record companies had Black records and white records, white audiences and Black audiences, white water fountains and Black water, you name it. And not only did they do that, they didn't only do that here in this country and in their community. They went beyond that and worldwide. It's infectious when something is genuine. It's infectious when something is told from the truth. And these people, Bessie Smith and Louis Armstrong, they lived in such a way that was not only difficult, they overcame certain things. And their legacy and their story is heard in their sound. That when you hear a sound that you celebrate like that, and it makes you feel like they're telling you something about yourself that they know and you know too, then it's something that is Again, infectious is the word, and that's why it's still relevant today, and it's powerful. Their personal stories, and especially, I mean, your sound is you. You recognize your grandmother when she calls you on the phone. You recognize your best friend. You recognize Louis Armstrong and Bessie Smith when you hear them, and you can recognize them in the history of sound that we have from them till now. And, you know, it's always relevant. So Bessie Smith.
Yeah. Just before we go any further, I just want to reintroduce, for the folks that are joining late, reintroduce this band. You just heard from Miss Brianna Thomas, our vocalist. Norman Edwards on the drums. Corbin Jones on bass. Justin Poindexter on guitar. And Alphonso Horne on trumpet.
So we haven't heard anything from Corbin yet.
Yeah.
Who, me?
Of course you.
Oh my goodness.
So I don't know if all the New York people have seen it here, because Corbin lives in Los Angeles and has for years now done our Los Angeles Let Freedom Swings programs. But kids love Corbin. So Corbin, can you tell us a little bit about what goes through your mind when you know you're going to do one of these concerts for kids? What are you thinking about?
Depends how hungry I am. No, but actually, one of the first things that comes to mind is me in that exact same position 20 something years ago. The first time I was like, I want to play music for a long time at least, or like I really want to try that, is something like this. Came to my elementary school and there was a guy playing the tuba, and I also play tuba. I play tuba and bass. And you know, at the time I was like into animals, and I thought, wow, that sounds like an elephant, you know, but there was something that resonated with me that I couldn't shake. I thought that I did shake it actually, because I didn't start playing tuba until a few years ago, but it just stuck there in my mind. And so every time we go into a group and we see a bunch of kids, I'm like, I could be doing something that seems like second nature, that seems like no big deal to me. It could be the shoes that I'm wearing, and it will, and some kid will see something that I'm doing and it'll change their future, maybe tomorrow, maybe 20 years in the future. So that's absolutely the first thing that goes through my mind, is like a joke that I make, a solo that I play, you know, the way that I interact with people. All of these things are influencing young people, like whether they know it or not. That's a big not weight, but it's very present when we go into the schools. And sometimes it's a weight, sometimes it's really encouraging, like, okay, like, why don't I just be the most me? And that means a lot to kids too. And I think that's another thing, like, I just wanted to add to what Bree was saying about Louis and Bessie Smith, is like, they were so them, like they were so unapologetically genuine, like you said. And there's a depth to that I just don't really see in music that kids have access to today. There's like a way that music is performed or packaged where, like, even if you can't sing, you're a star. Even if you can't dance, you have to dance. Right. And that's just not the same depth that you get from people who are going through all sorts of obstacles and still coming out as themselves. So that's another thing that I think about when we go in with the kids. And then one of the last things I think about is I grew up in Denver, Colorado, which is a fantastic place to grow up. But at the time that I was growing up there in the 90s, it wasn't a very diverse place. So I grew up with a lot of people who did not look like me. And I guess long story short, I remember seeing a Ron Carter album at the library, and I was like, that guy looks like me and he's playing the instrument that I play, like maybe I could do that. So one of the third thing that I think of, most prevalent thing anyway, that I think of when we go into the schools, is like just the fact that I look like me and you look like you and you look like you, and we're all together and we're doing this thing, means something to the kids. Like, we don't even have to play a note almost, and it means something that they see that we're all vibing together and having a good time. And then we do play in it and it sounds fun and sounds good. And it's like, wow, like that's just powerful. I don't know. It was powerful for me. So I always remember that when we go to the schools.
Yeah, representation matters.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I want to secondly just, oh, sorry, go ahead, Jake.
Well, I was gonna ask Corbin, how long have you been playing?
I've been playing the bass for 17 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Bree, how long have you been singing?
Ooh. I'm not old, disclaimer, but I've been singing for about 32 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And Justin, Alphonso, and Norman, what about you? How long have you all been playing? It's a question that we got from Cappy V. So I just wanted to
Everyone always wants to know that. All right, I've been playing the guitar for almost 25 years now.
Wow.
Makes me want to go practice right now.
Right.
I've been playing for 20 years. Norman.
I have also been playing for 32 years since I was 4 years old.
Yeah.
I just wanted to very, very quickly say that, so lots of musicians have been involved in this program, and we haven't been touring with this program. So this relationship with Hancher has been kind of a special opportunity that's been brewing for a long time. And Jake and I were talking about who we thought would be fun to travel with, because at the end of the day, it's who would be fun to travel with.
Yeah.
It's not gonna make it hard.
And I will say, as a musician, and I think that everyone here will agree with me, that sometimes you get a group of musicians together to like maybe play a wedding or do some kind of professional engagement, and you know that nobody's going to do anything strange, that everyone's going to be a certain way, and that the music is going to be airtight and perfect, and you won't screw anything up. This is not that band. People in here are certainly capable of playing that way, but this band is like a live wire of exciting people, and the music can change in dramatic ways at any moment. When you're looking around these people, I mean, there's, first of all, the virtuosity level in these musicians around me is staggering.
Oh.
And the energy level that they have as performers, and also the depth of their, I guess, just love that they wear on their sleeve as human beings is really infectious. So if you saw us this afternoon and then you saw us 2 hours later at the reception, it was like a completely different band. I mean, very different vibes. And that's so exciting when you're bringing a show to kids. To have that live wire element is so important, because kids will turn you on a dime and you got to shift to figure out what their energy is, you know? It took me a long time to learn that through, I've got 2 little kids now, and now I'm realizing even more. It's like, wow, I've got to go to where they are, you know?
Yes. Meet them on their level, and they will come with you.
Yeah.
But I will say,
Make sure you get in the microphone. I know you have this.
I love what Justin just said. You have to get on their level. I think so much of these programs has to do with meeting the kids where they are. And some of the programs, there's, we get people of all ages sometimes. So meeting people where they are, and then saying, come with me, and taking them on a trip. And to add to the point that he was making about how the band is a live wire. Yeah, everybody here has such a level. I agree with you. I'm looking at all the talent here and going, like excited, but we trust one another. And I think that's very important, because, you can have somebody that's just, off the chain with their excitement and their everything, and not know there'll be like a firecracker or a stick of dynamite, and that's nice, but in the wrong place, it's a wreck. So I just feel like when you trust the people that you're playing with, it's like a walk in the park. You can be blindfolded with your best friend and know that they're not going to lead you into the street. And that journey musically, this afternoon when we played at the youth center, one of the comments that I won't ever forget, and I was so blessed and glad to be there with the cats in that moment, and is that they were saying how much fun that we were having and how it looked like fun, and we were genuinely having fun. It feels like finally we're, after all of this quiet time, we're together, again. And it's my first time playing with Corbin, but it feels like he's family already. And it's because of the understanding and trust we have. And to know that the audiences feel our trust, and they feel our attentiveness, and they feel the live wire aspect, and they don't know what's going to happen. Everybody's in the same space. And that's the part of music, especially when we go into schools with the kids, they could say, wow, I want to be a singer, or I want to play trumpet, or I want to play bass. Or they might say, wow, I want to go to a live music concert. They might have whatever they take from that, as long as we show up with trust and a genuine spirit, and we give our best like our heroes did, and we come and we tell our story and we tell the truth. The kids know when you're telling the truth, and they know when you're not, and they will mute you on remote. They will be like, change that channel. So, you know, it's really wonderful to be in that space with these amazing people and the kids. We learn so much. I believe every audience is just a bunch of grown kids. You know, if you can learn how to help kids understand, to focus, and to capture them, then you know when you're in a room with anyone, we're just grown kids. Kids are little people, and we're just grown kids.
I was gonna ask if Chuck is still there, if Chuck had any
Yeah,
questions.
I was going to ask a quick question. Thank you, Jake. First of all, you all look great. The lighting in that room is terrific. Oh, it's fabulous.
Thanks, Ringlight.
So I've got a question for you. Tomorrow you're going to Southeast Junior High School in Iowa City. Your program, tell us a little bit about what you're going to do there. And also, Corbin, you talked a little bit about this, but tell us what your hope is for the takeaway with these students. What do you hope from this program they're going to go home and talk to their parents about, or maybe make a difference in their friendships, or, you know, what sorts of things are you hoping will happen through this program? Thanks.
Well, you know, one of the things that I really love about, you know, doing this program, you know, tomorrow we're gonna do our Let Freedom Swing program. You know, we're gonna talk about the ingredients, if you will, of jazz that we find important to its creation: blues, swing, and improvisation. And doing it with all these great musicians, I can't wait. It's always fun. But I would say one of my hopes, and which I always love doing this program, is just getting one student who, and I actually talked about this with everybody earlier, you know, a lot of times, especially in junior high, I feel is like a really hard age. I know it was a hard age for me growing up because, like, you know, you see me like doing this all the time. It's like really fun, but, you know, sometimes kids, they see that and they're like, why are you doing that? Why you act like that? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm hoping with something like this, like a student who's really into jazz and they feel they can't share that with other students, or even just a student who's into music, or like who wants to express themselves, but they feel they might be judged or people might talk about them. Like they see us perform and us being passionate about what we do and not really caring about what people think, but more so that we hope that we share this with everyone because it makes us happy. And we hope to make everybody happy too, no matter what. I hope we at least get one student, just one student, to be like, you know what? I'm not gonna hide anymore. I'm gonna be me. They're being themselves. I'm gonna be me too. And whether it's in music or anything, but just the courage to be yourself. That's one thing I always hope and look forward to with Jazz for Young People.
Down the line.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, down the line.
Okay, so I really, to sort of piggyback off of that, I think it's wonderful to go to a school and kids, there are those audiences you have where they seem like they may not be into it, or you don't know what's about to happen. And through a series of experiences, because they're having an experience every time we say or say a word or play a note, it means something different to every kid in that room too. Like if we sing a blues song, one person might be sad because blues is so many things. They might be sad because they've been through, we've had kids come up to us and tell us things in life, like, you know, crazy things like their parents dying and different things. They will open up and talk to us at the end of the concert. And so to make my point, I hope, and I always hope that the kids, of course, I hope to inspire some to want to pursue singing, and I hope that they get inspired to pursue whatever instrument, or even find an instrument that they might be interested in, or to be involved in music. But I think the very powerful thing about these programs is, for me, is that it teaches kids that they can express themselves and that it's okay. And that's feedback off of you, like that it's okay to like what they like. It's okay to be who they are. It's okay to speak and say something. It's okay to ask a question. It's okay to wonder about something. It's okay to want to know more about something. And when at the end of these the moment when the kids come up and they want to ask, tell us more about Louis. When did he live? When did he die? You know, like all of these things that they want to know. What was his favorite food? You know, they ask kid questions, but the interest is there. And so if we can put start a little fire, they will, you know, if you start a fire, fires burn, and they will keep that with them and go and find out. If they ask their parents about the people that we talk about or the songs that we present, and especially just the act of them speaking and asking questions or going to find things to listen to, that's the last thing, because people like what they like, but if you can make a connection with somebody and teach them and show them something they may not know about, or teach them that it's okay to like what they like. I'll just give you a quick story. When I was in high school, my best friend, we became best friends because I went over her house for the first time and I opened her CD player and there was a Billie Holiday CD in her CD player. And this was high school now, and we were 14 freshmen, and she was on some, oh, don't worry about that CD, I'll take that out. She was sort of embarrassed about it. And I was like, I was already singing since I was like a little kid, and I was singing jazz. My dad was in a jazz band, sang with his band. I was like, you listen to Billie Holiday? I felt like I had someone to connect to. And I think the kids experience that amongst themselves too. When they're asking the questions, they're revealing things about one another. So it starts a conversation and a thought process, and that thought process leads to self-expression. And self-expression is the one thing that no one else can do for you, and what you have to say, no one else can say. And if we can ignite anything in the children or anyone who's listening to us, to teach them to be free with that, because that's something we all need. I need to hear what you have to say. You need to hear what I have to say. It makes everything better. The world works better. People get along better, and it bridges things. So that is my hope for.
That's all back to back.
Sorry.
Wow. I'll just chime in a little bit because I don't have that much good stuff to say. But I thought the way Susan said it earlier at the reception was really beautiful, and I'll hold on to it forever. And the idea being, an author comes to the school, they leave, all the kids write letters saying, I want to be an author when I grow up. And probably most of them won't be, but they're practicing believing in themselves.
Yes.
And I just lived in my imagination as a kid. And so I think my thing, in addition to everything that everybody's saying, is like, I hope that a kid could see what we're doing and imagine, and just like practice, like imagining themselves doing something, and like feeling encouraged, just like believing in themselves. That's my hope.
That word that she said earlier.
Oh. All right. Wasn't ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille. You know, what I want the kids to get out of this, it's something that hasn't been said before. You know, I know most of the people in this group fairly well. You know, some of us have been on extended journeys together. And when I look at these people, I know what music they're into that is not the music that we're playing on stage. You know, like I know the depth of their interest, and I can hear little pieces of that music come out in them in really surprising ways within the context of our concerts. And that to me, to feel them again express what they are, the totality of their musical experience through their instrument is so powerful to me. I mean, I guess my role as a guitar player is like kind of finding this place that like comments on what a soloist puts out there, or what a singer puts out there. And I just love it when I hear Brianna turn one note a certain way, and I'm just like, I know where she got that from. Or I hear, you know, or you hear, I mean, if you heard Fonz tonight, you know, I mean, he basically played like a trumpet concerto as one of his choruses on Little Liza Jane, you know? I mean, like you hear all this stuff come out and they're playing, and I think that really speaks to the magic of jazz music. We know because Louis Armstrong, to go back to him for a second, had this archive of tapes of himself that he made in his own home. You can hear him improvising along with Italian opera. You know, you can, he, like so many jazz musicians, was great jazz musicians anyway, was open. He was wide open to new music coming in. And I feel that way about every person in here. There's none of the jazz police, if you will, that are trying to rein in what you can and you can't play.
We're the outlaws. We're the outlaws.
The outlaws.
Right.
We're the jazz
The rebels. The jazz rebels.
I think that, to me, when I think about what really got me into this music, I mean, first of all, it was a copy of Louis and Ella that someone just kind of slipped me, and I was like, oh, this, okay, you know, I put it on. But I just love that basically any music of your experience is valid in this music.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Right, Norman?
Well said.
I want to go.
I
I want to go after them.
No,
I ain't got that kind of energy. No. Nay. Okay, it's back. And we're back. Okay, so the curriculum is like, you know, broken into like the fundamentals of jazz. You have blues, swing, and improvisation, but these are the fundamentals of life, you know?
Yes.
So we're teaching life skills, not just the music. In the blues, we're talking about how you express your emotions, how you're feeling. And it's like, you know, not to be too political, but it's like a vaccination. You get a little bit of the blues to get rid of it. You have to play a little bit of the blues to get rid of the blues. And so that's what we're teaching them, that like, if you have sadness, if you have anger, if you have any strong emotion, express that, as Bree says, like express that, share that, and that is a part of the healing process. So that's not just in music, but in all of life, right? And in swing, we're learning to play together. That is not all about you, you know, it's that we're listening and we're communicating together on the bandstand, but also in life. And that's why we get along, is because like we're all very generous people off and on the stage, you know? So it's, I always think that like music is a reflection of who you are as a person. So, you know, like obviously there are all these great virtuosos who can play amazing things, but those people aren't here today on stage with us because like some of them don't have the right attitude, and that comes across on stage and off the stage. So I enjoy these people off the stage as much as I do on stage because they're great, beautiful, generous people. And the third element is improvisation, is that, you know, in life, you know, as life has shown us the past couple of years, that like throws us curveballs. There's, you know, you can't predict anything that's going to happen. You can't predict tomorrow. You don't know what tomorrow will bring you. But if you have some of that improvisational nature in you, is that like, oh, everything has to be planned out perfectly. Life doesn't work that way. You don't know what's going to happen, but if you can respond generously, if you can respond with love and kindness, then you will be further off. And so all of these things in music are applied in everyday life. So they don't have to go on and be musicians. They just can learn these stories from us as musicians, or from Louis Armstrong and Bessie Smith, and learn that these people embody these fundamentals of life, period. You know, and one of the things that I love, you know, telling people is that like, if you feed your passion, the passion will feed you, whatever it is. And so these are people that fed their passion, and their passion feeds them. And we are feeding our passions, and our passions are feeding us. And that's what we're doing here for you today.
That was everybody. Remember, I was first.
Oh, you went first?
Yeah, I was
Can
first.
I say one thing then?
Yeah.
One of the things, because you just said it, this not only teaches, like we love each other because we listen to one another and we get along on and off stage. These concerts teach the kids to listen.
Yes.
It teaches them to listen not only to the band, because some of the kids have never had a live music experience. I've been to so many schools where maybe one person in a child's family may play an instrument, but that doesn't mean they've seen a live concert. So sometimes they don't know when to clap, or they don't, even on the flip side, maybe know to be quiet and to listen so that an experience in the entire room can be had. So when you teach a person to share their space and share their energy and share understanding, then understanding goes a long way. And it teaches people to respect one another. So I think it just helps kids to not only celebrate themselves as individuals, but to celebrate one another and to see us celebrating one another in music. It teaches that.
So I think, Chuck, we just have a few minutes left. Are there any questions, or does anyone have any any comments or anything?
All I can say is I wish I was a student in Southeast Junior High tomorrow. I'll be there, but I'm so appreciative of this. You all you're just wonderful. This has been an incredible hour. It's gone by so quickly. And
Yeah.
Justin and Jake told me early on that this would just be such a natural, and it was beautifully done. I can't thank you enough. This was perfect. It really was. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
We will see you there.